There were so many trades this weekend. Let's break them all down on Fantasy Baseball Today in 5. Welcome into FBT in 5 on Monday, July 31st. I am Frank Stanfield, joined by Scott White. And let's start it off with the White Sox, who were very busy this past weekend. They traded Lance Lynn and Joe Kelly to the Dodgers in exchange for Trace Thompson and two prospects, Nick Nastrini and Jordan Leisure. Lance Lynn, we've talked about him a lot this year, Scott. He has the highest ERA among qualified starting pitchers. However, he ranks 11th in baseball with 144 strikeouts. Do you think there is a decent chance he gets back on track here with the Dodgers?
It's decent enough that if you've held on to him all this time, and 80% of CBS sports users, at least users in 80% of leagues, have held on to Lance Lynn all this time, then you might as well hold on a little longer just to see if the Dodgers can work their Dodgers magic on him. I feel pretty confident saying they wouldn't have acquired him if they thought he was going to pitch to a 6.50 ERA. And as you point out, bat missing hasn't been his issue. He's top 15 among qualifiers in strikeout percentage. He has the best swinging strike rate of his career. These are kind of the reasons I've held out hope for Lance Lynn even when he was with the White Sox. And so the hope is that with this change of scenery under the eyes of a new coaching staff, under the recommendations of a new front office, and just the adrenaline of being inserted into a playoff race, that hopefully we see Lance Lynn start to live up to to his past self.
Let's stick with the White Sox. They also traded Kendall Graveman to the Houston Astros in exchange for catcher Corey Lee. And I think the biggest takeaway here, Scott, for redraft is who is going to close for the White Sox. On Friday, Gregory Santos stepped in and got a save, but there's still a chance that Liam Hendricks returns to the team, assuming he's not traded or maybe just shut down at some point. But who do you think leads the White Sox in saves rest of season?
Yeah, I mean, the top White Sox reliever to roster is Hendricks, because if he does come back, I think he reclaims the role, and I think he's better than Santos. But Santos is the guy for now, and that's one White Sox beat writer I know basically said as much. So, yeah, I think if you're in a league where saves are scarce, he needs to be picked up, Gregory Santos. I don't think he's going to be a great closer, but he does appear to be the uncontested closer for now.
Only 10% rostered is Gregory Santos, so if you do play in a deeper league and you're desperate for saves, go out and add Gregory Santos. Let's slide over to the Cardinals. They were also very busy this weekend. They traded Jordan Montgomery and Chris Stratton to the Texas Rangers in exchange for prospects Thomas Saggese, right-handed pitcher Tekoa Roby, and left-handed reliever John King. Jordan Montgomery here, Scott, been rock solid this year, 3.42 ERA, 1.25 WHIP. Do you think his value increases going to the Texas Rangers?
I think it does, if only because he goes from being on a team that wasn't very good to one of the best in baseball, and clearly the best offense in baseball by runs scored is the Rangers. And for a pitcher who is steady but not spectacular, that's probably the best case scenario, just getting him in on a team with a great offense backing him, giving him tons of run support. He had gone only 6-9 with the Cardinals this year, had Jordan Montgomery, and wins are the most valuable stat in most fantasy formats. He's done a good job of pitching deep into games. 8 of his last 9 starts, he's gone 6 innings or more. If he's doing that with the Rangers offense backing him, that should lead to a lot more wins. I think it's a clearer upgrade for Jordan Montgomery than it is for the Rangers' other big acquisition from the weekend, and we hadn't touched on this for the Fantasy Baseball on 5 podcast audience yet, but Max Scherzer joining them. He's going to have the great run support of the Rangers lineup backing him too, but he had gone 9-4 with the Mets. So while Montgomery had gone 6-9 with the Cardinals, Scherzer was having good win-loss luck with the Mets. So we're not going to feel the change as much with him as we will with Montgomery, hopefully.
And if you want to hear more about Max Scherzer, we did do an emergency podcast. You can find that over in the Fantasy Baseball Today podcast feed. Let's wrap up here, Scott. One more trade involving the Cardinals. Jordan Hicks was traded over to the Toronto Blue Jays, and we know Jordan Romano went on the IL this weekend with back inflammation. Who do you think closes here? Do you think they just automatically insert Jordan Hicks into the closer's role as long as Romano is out, or do they go with players who have already been on the roster this year, Eric Swanson, Jimmy Garcia? Your thoughts on Blue Jays bullpen?
I'm guessing it's Hicks. I'd hoped it would be Swanson. Swanson's been a good setup man the last 2 years, and I think he's better than Hicks. Jordan Hicks gets a lot of hype because his fastball peaks at 103. But you look at his actual numbers over his career, including this year, they're really not spectacular. His whip this year is 1.51, but he has more closing experience than Swanson. He had been closing for the Cardinals. Swanson's actually struggled a bit recently, which makes it all the easier for the Blue Jays to insert Hicks into the closer role. Either way, we're talking about a temporary situation while Jordan Romano is sidelined by this back issue. So in the long run, I think stock down for Hicks. But for now, I think Jordan Hicks will continue to get saves for you.
All right. For more extensive fantasy baseball coverage, listen to the Fantasy Baseball Today podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, the Audacy app, or anywhere else podcasts are found. Thanks for listening to Fantasy Baseball Today in 5, and we'll be back again tomorrow. Bye-bye.